Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us here on SABC News. South Africa has been named the best country to visit. Readers surveyed by the UK's Telegraph newspaper voted South Africa as the world's best tourist destination. Global PR Communications and Stakeholder Relations GM Thandiwe Mathibela joins us now for more. Very welcome to you, ma'am. Thanks very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Thank you so much, Flo, and good evening to all the viewers at home.
So let's talk about, what you believe was, the main or some of the reasons that made South Africa be named the best country to visit. Perhaps we can look at, some of the criteria.
Readers of the Telegraph are actually asked based on their experience, because this is a group of very discerning, adventurous, very experienced travelers that go to different parts of the world. So they get asked in a survey based on whatever experience they may have had to vote for either the best city, best country, or the best tour operator. And they certainly came out with South Africa, and it's a double triumph for us, because not only were we chosen as the best country, we also were chosen as the best city for Cape Town, which is quite an iconic city. And really what readers are looking for is that experience. So we've got a lot of gratitude to express towards the South African tourism product owners, because it's based on the experience of the readers, the facilities, the friendliness of the staff, as well as the service that these readers receive, that they actually gave this feedback.
Yeah, not to be negative, but as a South African, one looks at this and goes, but how do you think that this is the best place to visit when we're battling with load shedding, and we're always bemoaning the issue of crime, for example? There's some negatives to look at. So are these sort of issues overlooked by the people that vote, or they're just not aware or not here long enough to pick up some of those issues?
No, as I've already mentioned, these are very discerning travelers. These are travelers that have gone around the world and have had different experiences in different countries. So obviously they've got all those considerations, and despite whatever negative considerations they may have, their positive experience of South Africa has still gotten them to the point where they actually gave South Africa that accolade, which is a very important one.
Yeah. And do you believe that this will translate to more tourists? You look at the Kruger National Park at the moment, they've actually seen a drop in numbers, and one might want to point to what I just mentioned, which is the issue of crime. We heard about that the Germans that experienced crime close to the Kruger National Park, for example. So how do you believe that this will translate possibly into us seeing more tourists?
Research tells us that people believe people that are like them, which is word of mouth. So people are most likely to believe the people that have gone to have this experience. We know that the Telegraph readers are people that have traveled to South Africa before. They've even come more than once. So they are really basing their experience they are really basing their vote on the vast experience of the country that they have had. A lot of them have obviously come to Cape Town. Now we invite them to actually explore other parts of our country. So incidents such as crime and incidents of crimes on tourists that actually come do happen, and they happen in different parts of the world, not only in South Africa. And I think when a person is assessing their experience of that country, all those considerations come to play.
Yeah, and was the issue of pricing, also mentioned, or was it any part of the criteria? One thing you'll always hear, whether it's tourists from the US or from the UK, is how they believe South Africa to be very cheap, which we don't think so ourselves. But obviously, in comparison, if you do a rand to pound or a rand to dollar, is that something that was expressed?
Definitely, value for money goes a long way for us. So when you compare how far the pound can stretch in South Africa, you start seeing how people would actually be attracted to South Africa. And it's not only that, it's also the quality of our service. A lot of people are positively surprised by the kind of service that we've got, the quality of our food, the friendliness of our people. All that goes into making up the total experience that a person will have, and ultimately give us that nod of either best country or best city. And I think that those were the considerations for these 27,000 Telegraph readers who actually decided to give South Africa these very interesting accolades.
Having said all this, and after these accolades, what would you say to those in the tourism sector? I mean, it's obviously on recovery now, but they were one of the most hurt by COVID-19 and lockdowns and so forth. But what would you say to those in the industry?
Like I already said earlier, is that we'd like to thank the people in the South African tourism industry, because through the experience that they gave these readers came back to have this very positive sentiments around our country. And we've been working as a sector. I mean, the entire global tourism industry has very much recovered. And we've been partnering together as a sector to say, let us all put our hands together to grow our sector, because nobody else is going to do it for us. And so for me, this says, let us be encouraged and know, that our readers and travelers out there value the service that we give them. And this is only but one example where it is expressed.
All right, Thandiwe, thanks very much for speaking to us. That's Thandiwe Mathibela, Global PR, Communications and Stakeholder Relations GM. On the back of South Africa being named the best country to visit, readers surveyed by the UK's Telegraph newspaper voting South Africa as the world's best tourist destination.